business and e-commerce. You're listening to E-Commerce All-Stars with Josh Marsden.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to E-Commerce All-Stars. On this episode, I'm interviewing entrepreneur, author, and speaker, Justin Christianson. Now, Justin joins us to dive into conversion rate optimization. Now, conversion rate optimization, it's a truly critical discipline when it comes to online marketing and getting the best performance out of your e-commerce store. So I'm really excited to interview Justin here. Justin's got some incredible knowledge, incredible experience that he's going to dive into during today's interview. So Justin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it, man. Well, just to kind of get started, and so this way the audience can kind of get to know you a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been in the digital marketing space, I think 15 years now, give or take. Been through the trenches, as they say, but I've been full-time since 2005. Been split testing and optimizing since before there was software to actually do it.
Yep.
And just always been fascinated about the psychology behind what makes people take certain actions, what they respond to, and even how the smallest elements can change and have a dramatic impact. And I remember early on doing one small little test back in the lead gen days, the basic landing pages, just adding an animated arrow that was pointing to my button, and everybody ripped it off and took it off. And it was funny, we made like an extra $2,000 a day because of the leads that it generated. So I've been fascinated by that. Started after I sold my previous company. We had an information publishing company that was pretty good size. Sold it back to my business partners, and because of the information I published there, they were asking me, what are you going to do next? And I started a small consultancy doing implementation and optimization. And then from there, I partnered up with my now business partner and started what's Conversion Fanatics. And now we have a big team of people and work for some top brands, really helping them understand their visitors' behavior and then helping them implement. And we actually do the heavy lifting and implement their experiment and split testing plan for them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who are some of your clients that maybe the audience would have known about?
Burt's Bees is one of our clients right now. Renew Life, which is another brand under Clorox. Okay. With Burt's Bees, we've done work for Vital Choice, Dr. Axe.
Nice.
Even as far as done consulting for Hertz Rent-A-Car, Quicken Loans, PayPal. Some smaller ones. I mean, we're working with some great ones. I'm looking over here. I've actually got a big sign in my office, but Poopery, we've done work for, Sign Up Genius, 3 Day Blinds, Lowbrow Customs, BH Cosmetics, Miner's Supply, Magic Beans. I mean, the list goes on.
No, that's great, man. That's great. Well, that's cool. And when you're, talking to entrepreneurs that maybe are green, so to speak, when it comes to conversion rate optimization, how do you explain what that is?
So conversion rate optimization, and when people immediately say conversion rate optimization, they immediately think split testing. Well, that's only the vehicle that we use to prove or disprove any of our assumptions that we have. So we never want to make a change to something without actually testing it. But conversion rate optimization as a whole is just figuring out what your visitors like, don't like, and where they're falling off in your process. And then just understanding their behaviors and how they interact with your brand or your marketing message. Mm-hmm. So do they like, for a stupidly simple example, do they like a green button versus an orange button? And you can get much more in depth than that and the reason why you would test that. But we just want to figure out what holds the most weight in the eyes of the visitors on the pages, and then build a better use case and a better scenario and shopping experience for them that helps them engage quicker, helps them find what they're looking for quicker, and then take the ultimate jump, and that is the exchange of money for goods. Mm-hmm. And I always say that we lead the visitor down the path of least resistance to the end goal that you want achieved, and that's to make a purchase. And then we work to optimize all of those things and, average order values and things like that. But in the simplest nature, it's just removing friction points from the purchase process and taking them down the path to purchase. Much easier is essentially what it is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what degree of impact, can your work typically have like on a business. If you could just maybe just give like the audience an idea on how important conversion rate optimization is from a kind of results standpoint, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's funny. I just recorded a video on that this morning. Somebody prompted me they're like, my advertising cost is going through the roof and my, cost per acquisition is super high and I just can't get it under control. My return on ad spend is going in the toilet. Well, because they're not optimizing. So what happens with optimization is your cost per acquisition is generally going to come down. We see 20 to 30% reduction usually.
Nice.
Up to, we've taken it from $80 down to $12 before, but that's a rarity. Your average order value typically goes up. Your traffic becomes more effective on the engagement side, but on a true conversion side, we helped a company. I would like to say it was all us, but it wasn't. They're a great, fantastic company. We helped them scale 12 or 300% in 1 year. And they were already pretty big to begin with. So a big scale like that was pretty massive. The biggest one we ever did was about 1,850% growth in recurring customers in 10 months. But wow. I think we had recently one split test resulted. The site got like 12 million monthly unique visitors. So a lot of traffic. Yeah. We took that and I think we figured out it was 2.5 million in annualized revenue increase from just a couple tests.
Yep.
But regularly we see 20, 30% improvements, which equate to, depending on the size of the store, anywhere from $75,000 in annualized revenue to 350 to, in the millions like we're talking about.
Wow. That's awesome. So, this stuff can have a massive impact. I just want to really make that point clear to the audience watching or listening to this, that, what Justin's going to dive into, it can make a huge difference to your e-commerce, store performance. That's phenomenal, Justin. Well, I know that, leading into, today's, interview, that there was going to be some strategies and stuff like that you were going to really dive into. So do you want to go ahead and introduce us to what you want to dive into today?
Yeah. As far as strategies, there's a lot of things that people just fail to realize. They're just trying to make a buck. They're trying to sell some products. And, I spoke at an event a couple of weeks ago, or last week or something like that, in Vancouver to 100 people. And everybody was so hung up on what should my Shopify theme be? Mm-hmm. They were just like, what's the next theme? What theme should I be running on? And I'm like, your theme doesn't matter. Go with the straight out of the box basic theme that Shopify gives you and then adapt from there, because one size does not fit all. Mm-hmm. So my whole strategy behind optimization and I know we work with a ton of Shopify stores right now. I don't know if your audience does too, but I'm assuming so.
Yep.
It's about thousands and thousands of people that are on Shopify now.
Right.
But the whole point is you're going to run into some issues, page load, and they've got many great plugins and you're not really sure which way to go and what strategies and tactics you need. And usually I just try to position our product in a way that appeals most to the audience and helps them shop easier. And I tell people all the time that we don't have the luxury online to get somebody to try on our product or touch and feel and hold it and experience it. So the better we can do that through our marketing, the easier it's going to be. I can walk into, say, a Dillard's or a Macy's, and for speaking clothing, and I can go right to the men's section. I can browse this, I can look. Online, we need to create that same experience. You got your jeans section over here, you got your t-shirt section, you got your shoes. You need to create that same experience on your online store. So allowing them to find, if you have men's and women's, allow them to pick, okay, men's clothing first or men's whatever, filter them down and get them shopping in specifically what they want. Bestsellers is a great example of allowing them to shop by bestsellers because they know that somebody else is buying it. And they're not going to be the first one to do that. Mm-hmm. And then when you get them into say your catalog pages, allowing them to filter even further, emphasizing some bestsellers at the top, giving them a streamlined way to take the next step, such as things like quick shop or a blatant add to cart button on your catalog pages. But again, allowing them, I see so many stores. We were looking at one right now this morning. They're an e-commerce store, but they sell a very specific home good, but they're $1 billion company.
Wow.
And we're looking through it today, and I'm like, there's like no way to filter. They've got thousands of options, and they had no way to help their visitors shop and really just engage in that process. So if you can't get and keep their attention and get them shopping, because I know if I come to your store, the same thing, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to find what I'm looking for, I'm going to browse, then I'm going to, walk up to the register, or I'm going to try it on, but we can't do that online. So taking them through that process to find what they're looking for much easier. And then once you get them to the product detail page, is giving them that experience. So don't just haphazardly take some photos of your product with your iPhone. Get professional quality, position it from all different angles, size comparison, size charts, show people wearing the product of, different sizes even. If everybody has the model that, is the size 0 model in women's clothing, and it's not the normal people. So you got to really speak to your audience. And the more you can position that and get them experience and allow them to zoom in on images and really take them through that process, and then make it very simple for them to select from there and know what is going to happen next. Is some of the elements that I comb through.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, you're basically, it's all about, improving the user experience, making it super easy for someone to go to a website and have that shopping experience almost as if they're going to a physical store is what you're referring to. So what are if you could break it down in maybe simple kind of rules, and I know this is a little bit of a challenging question, but I just want to really give the audience clarity on this. What are some golden rules when it comes to user experience that you see on a maybe fairly common basis that e-commerce stores need to really adopt to have the best possible user experience, which is going to obviously improve just the bottom line results?
User experience for me is getting to the product first, particularly speaking from a homepage perspective. People just try to fill up that space with so much stuff. It's hey, read about our company and read about this and, shop our latest sale. And they're just beating these people over the head with all of these different distractions. I always say for best practice is a static image at the top saying, here's who we are, here's what we got, here's what you need to do next. Then get them into the shopping. Below that, usually have our best sellers, 4 to 8 different products that are some top sellers. Then from there, break it down by category. And then you can go into reviews and all of your other stuff below, because most of those people aren't going to get that far. Mm-hmm. Then typically for user experience, for the most part, is removing clutter. You look at some of these product detail pages and catalog pages, and it's there.
What have you seen on clutter? I'd love to what are some things that you've seen when it comes to clutter?
Here's an example. I reviewed a site, made the mistake of saying I'll review a room of 100 newer e-commerce store owners, and I made the mistake to grab me after and I'll do a review of your site. I had a line around the building pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Just lining up. I'm next.
Incredibly valuable offer.
So I reviewed one and I looked at it. We dove in, did a quick look at analytics, found out majority was mobile. I loaded their mobile and they had a shaking button, add to cart button. They had a progress bar that said X number in stock, left in stock, order now. Then they had a progress bar, X number of people viewing this product. And then they had shipping information, and then they had another timer, and they had all of these timers and progress bars and all of these things just going down. And I looked at the one, it was a husband and wife, and I looked at the wife and I said, would you buy from you? And she said, yeah. I said, well, your visitors aren't buying from you because you're just beating them over the head of all of these distracting elements. And I don't even know where to click because they had orange and green and flashes and reds and all of these things. So that's a rare extreme case, but even down as simple as social share icons on a product detail page, the benefits of them pinning it to their Pinterest account and having a few of their friends see it, your increase in conversions is going to far outweigh that.
Right.
Because you want to remove as much clutter and distracting elements as you can and be real strategic about that. So and people try to get these big long descriptions and reviews and about the company and the ordering process and the return process, and these paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of things. Be very blunt, straight to the point, super clean.
Sure.
I mean, you look a page out of Apple, you go to apple.com. It is the cleanest site on the planet.
Right.
You know exactly what to do next.
Right.
And people just don't want to be pulled in multiple different directions. And if you're giving them a ton of different scenarios, you're going to lose them.
Yeah. So why do you think people do that? Like, that couple that you just, walked us through, why do you think that they, customize their store in that way?
I mean, I think probably somebody told them that it was cool, or somebody's a good idea. I mean, I say that marketers ruin everything. And even you and I both being marketers, we tend to latch on to the tactics and the tricks, and they probably saw that somebody did it. So, or were told that, hey, it increased conversions. I get people all the time that see my case studies and they're like, oh yeah, I implemented it and it screwed up my conversion rate or something like that. And it's like, well, you didn't test it for your own use case.
Right.
Don't just take somebody's word for it that it's actually going to work. But yeah, I mean, going back to that,
the context of every example is different. I think that's an important point, is that, the context of like every testing situation is going to be unique.
Yeah. You can have the same exact store or very similar store selling almost the same exact products. One could need to convert at 1%. The other one might need to convert at 3%, because you got brand integrity. You've got all of these other elements that play a role. And the fact is, majority of companies are not split testing. So they're just testing random things,
right,
or throwing stuff up and see what sticks. I talked to a company recently that he does quite well, he does a handful of millions a year, fairly low margin product, but he was beating himself up over his return on ad spend, and he tried 4 different traffic agencies, but he has never optimized. He's just randomly changed stuff on his store to see what sticks. And when you can better understand those visitors' behavior, everything else becomes so much more effective. Sorry, I got off topic from your UX question.
No, it was good. I mean, it's definitely good. I mean, that's actually a good jumping off point to this question. So how can, like, an e-commerce business owner watching this or listening to this, how can they, just go through their own store and, how can they identify what needs to change? Like, is there maybe some sort of process that you could maybe teach us or go over with us to help, like, the listeners here or the viewers here be able to kind of diagnose their e-commerce store and be able to improve that user experience? So this way they're not just testing left and right, and they're, really focusing on the right process and the right elements to improve their overall conversion rate on their store? Yeah,
absolutely. So we can get super technical, and I'll do the super technical side, and then I'll do the not so technical side.
Sounds good.
But the technical side is just get into your analytics and see what's going on. Make sure you have e-commerce tracking enabled and you're tracking revenue. Shopify makes it so simple to do this, to get it tracking correctly. But then just look for trends. So typically what I'll do is I'll dive in and I'll look at demographics. I'll figure out who my age demographics are. I'll break it down by age. So I'll look at the overall chart of men versus women versus, the age kind of graph that they have. And then I'll actually break it down further by age to see conversion rate by age. Mm-hmm. So who your majority of your traffic is might not be your highest converting audience.
Right.
So you want to see exactly what kind of trends you're seeing in that. Or maybe the bounce rate's extremely high for, 18 to 24, but, 54 to 65 is converting at 7 times what the other audience is.
Yeah, this is actually huge for targeting. Yeah, for advertising.
Yeah, and then focus on some of those higher converting demographics. Maybe they just appeal to it, and you're trying to advertise to 25 to 34, but maybe your audience is 55 to 65 or whatever, right. 54 to 65.
Yep.
And
just so the audience knows, you're talking about Google Analytics.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just Google Analytics.
Yep.
Nothing fancy. It's good enough for majority of what we see. Then what I'll do is I'll break down, usually I'll go through behavior. So I'll see what pages they're actually landing on most. Maybe you see that in the behavior that I get this actually a lot, that people say, well, we don't run much traffic to my homepage, but their homepage is their second highest traffic URL on their site. So you need to put some focus on there because it's not converting as well as the rest of the thing, because you think you're sending them to your product detail page or your landing page when majority of people are in there. So I'll look at behavior on site content and also a breakdown by landing page so you can see conversion rates and kind of the overall value of the page. And I will then look for where I can have the most impact. So, checkout pages and cart pages and steps in the process of checkout are usually viable things to focus on. But then there I'll actually break down mobile, desktop, and tablet to see, what's the bounce rate, what's the conversion rate, what's the revenue per visitor or revenue per session, because analytics does it on session basis. Then I'll break it down, what's the average page visit, pages per session and time on site. I look for a sub 50% bounce rate. If it's higher than that, usually if it's higher than 65, we've kind of got an issue, unless it's a very specific use case. Then I just kind of look for the trends in that data, and then from there, just look for trends in the nature that, you want to see, is there more engagement on desktop, which there usually is. More people will view more pages and they'll stay on the site longer. But if mobile is way underperforming, maybe you've got a 3.5% conversion rate on desktop and you've only got a 0.8% conversion rate on mobile. You got to focus on your mobile experience. And for the UX best practices, there is so many people think that just because I have a mobile responsive site doesn't mean that I'm mobilely optimized. They stack things just odd, and Shopify is probably the worst at this. They put things in the wrong order and it's really messed up. So just pay attention to that separately, and with optimization, you're able to do that. Then from there, I go new versus returning visitors. I want to see what's going on there, and analytics breaks these down for you.
I know. It's nice.
They've got the menu, so you can just see the same trends. So if you say, okay, new visitors convert at a quarter as much as returning visitors, but my average order value on returning visitors is 2 times, and you make 70% of your revenue on returning visitors, you've got a problem with your new visitors that if you just increase that slightly, and then now you've got a better experience for them. And then when they do come back to buy, they're going to probably convert at a higher rate. Then I usually break down under conversions, e-commerce, shopping behavior in analytics. The checkout behavior thing's kind of funky and hard to read, but shopping behavior shows you a specific breakdown. So it shows got X number of people view the site, X number of people fall off before they visit a product view. And then they show you the drop off all the way through to checkout. So you can see specifically where my problem areas are. So if you see, majority of people are, shopping, but then when they get to the product detail page and they view product, then you got a 90% drop off. You've got a serious issue that they're not finding what they're looking for on that particular product detail page.
You're listening to E-Commerce All-Stars. We'll be right back after this message.
E-Commerce All-Stars.
Do you want the best results possible for your business using Facebook advertising? By listening to this show, you know the impact that listening to some of the best and brightest in e-commerce can have for your business. Right now, you can do the same for your Facebook advertising in Josh's powerful new book. In this book, some of the best Facebook advertisers for e-commerce that have collectively spent millions on advertising have revealed their powerful strategies and tips for getting the most out of every dollar spent on Facebook ads. Every contributor has also given their wisdom on how your business can stay ahead of the trends happening right now, so you can win into 2019 with Facebook ads without risking advertising dollars. Molly Pittman, J. Trevor Chapman, David Schloss, Sam Bell, Josh Martin, and many more have truly given their best stuff in this book, Facebook Advertising Trends and Strategies for E-Commerce, the 2019 edition.
The best in e-commerce. E-Commerce All-Stars.
In which area of Google Analytics? I'm pretty sure it's GoFlow, but I just want to double check. Which area does an e-commerce owner need to dive into to be able to see like that step-by-step drop-off process?
That's under, I think it's under conversions. under e-commerce, and then shopping behavior.
Got it. Okay. Awesome.
Pretty sure that's exactly where it is. You can look at checkout behavior too, but it doesn't give you the cool line graph and the specific percentage drop-offs. And then you could break it down even further. They allow you to do that and add secondary dimensions. And we can geek out all day on analytics, but we won't do that. But that's the basics of what I'll look at as a whole. Just to kind of
it's huge. Because you can see drop-offs right there. This way you really can identify like where the user experience breaks down, right?
Yeah, it tells you.
Yep.
And usually you can kind of then backfill it and work your way back up to the top and then get them to convert at a better rate. But maybe, it's as simple as putting the reviews in the title above the image on mobile, or it's moving the call to action up a few pixels so they can see that here's the price and the discount that you have on it, the retail value and things like that. So they know exactly what to click on next. We've seen 40-50% improvements just by moving up the call to action button. On mobile. It's just crazy what can have that impact. So on the less geekier side, but still geeky to me because I love this stuff, is use heat maps and click maps. Hotjar is one of our favorites.
Can you define what those are for the audience?
So heat maps and click maps are essentially an overlay. So you just install a little script on your site and tell it what URL you want to read. And it'll read your mobile, tablet, and desktop breakdown of how far people are scrolling on your page, where they're dropping off in the process, where they are clicking, particularly on different elements. I use this as a good example is maybe you find out that you got people that are dropping off on your page and then they're immediately clicking on the about section of your site. Well, chances are you don't have the trust of that visitor. They were trying to learn more about you before they make a decision. So you can beef up your about page and talk about awards you've won and media mentions and how, your manufacturing process is better than anybody else's, and then take them back to a call to action, and you'll usually see an improvement there. But what we look for a heat map and click map is we look for how far they're scrolling down on the page on mobile and desktop. You can see specifically, it's like, oh, maybe I've got a section that's further down on the page and you've only got 75% of the people that drop off before they actually view that particular element. So you've got a problem that stuff below that is pretty much useless and pointless for you to even have it on the page. One thing we do is look at click maps a lot so we can see specifically where people are clicking. So what they're paying attention to, what they're ignoring, and then where they're falling off. And click maps usually allow us to do that very easily. So we can see that they're clicking on, the menu option or the selection option. I did one for a mattress company recently, and they found out that majority of the people wanted a firm mattress when they were trying to put them on a medium, a mid-level mattress as the default. So just defaulting to a firm mattress. And they were confused they were paying most attention to the quality of the mattress and those elements. So I said, let's just push those elements and test them on the page versus taking them off site or off to a different page or even a light box or something to emphasize those things. So you can really see what they're looking at and what your visitors are. And with that, like Hotjar, you can get screen recordings. So you could spend 2 weeks looking at your screen recordings and watching people's mouse movements, and they're painful to watch, but I usually just look at the heat and click maps, and usually I can figure out what's going on very quickly. They're clicking on what they're paying attention to, and then take that another step further. One thing we do for all of our clients as soon as they come on board is we set up an exit poll where we just ask a couple questions. We got some canned questions that we use. It's people leaving the site. We want to know why they didn't purchase. With that mattress company, I asked, what's your biggest question about the mattress today? You leave it an open-ended question and let them fill it out. Some of them will tell you to go fly a kite. In there, you'll get some negative press, or negative feedback, but it's good feedback.
Right. Yeah.
You just have those open-ended questions and get them talking. Why didn't you buy today?
Right. Surveys.
Huge. What other products are you shopping for? In that mattress company scenario, we're like, what other mattress brands are you comparing us to? So that we can see where we're falling short on that particular element. And that, and so many people just, they look at the quantitative side of things, the hard data, the math behind conversions, and they don't look at the qualitative side of things. We're dealing with people at the end of the day. They have different pains and pleasures and buying habits and decision-making skills and all of these things that play a role. And, personalities, and we're dealing with all of those. And the better we can understand them through their behaviors like that. And oftentimes, especially if you have low traffic, split testing might not be an option because it'll just take too long. But just making those adjustments with that qualitative data, the heat maps, the click maps, the surveys, the polls, you can usually make leaps and bounds. In the case of this mattress company, they had lots of sales, but very low traffic. So it makes it very hard to test. But we analyzed the heck out of all of their data and just pinpointed a handful of things that allowed them to redesign those pages. And I just looked, I think late last week after letting the new pages run for about 2 weeks, and they had an uptick in conversions, and their conversions were actually following their traffic trend of up. So we had better engagement overall, and I reviewed the heat maps and click maps again after we had made those redesigns, and we had way more engagement and way more interaction on the page on the key things we wanted interaction on than we did previously. So there's
the nice thing about this. Yeah. And the nice thing about this too is that, an e-commerce store that isn't getting a bunch of traffic, like you said, really taking into account that qualitative data from heat maps and clicktail maps can make that type of difference. I mean, you don't have to give me an exact number, but I just want to really provide like this impact to the audience here. What type of like improvement percentage wise did you see in the data, from the before and then the after you took that qualitative data and you helped them, improve, their overall user experience on their e-commerce site?
The mattress company, I think it was roughly about 14%.
Yep.
But 14% when you're selling $1,000 mattress,
it's a big difference. Yeah.
It makes a big difference. So
bottom line revenue. Yep.
Even if it was 1% improvement, it would have been a little tough to see it because it's a cohort test. We're just comparing apples to oranges essentially, in not true mathematical significance, but just any improvement there. And what we were really looking for is that engagement. Were they paying attention to the things we wanted them to pay attention to? Mm-hmm. Because they told us before of what they wanted, essentially, what they were confused by before. So then we answered those objections on the marketing copy and the changes. Yep. And it's yielded some pretty significant results so far.
Sure. And you can see that probably in like user behavior analytics, like bounce rate going down, average time on page going up, stuff like that, right? Those are indicators that, those changes did make improvements beyond just that bottom line KPI of, how much more revenue did I generate?
Yeah. And what happens too is you're going to lead to happier customers that stay with you longer and come back and buy from you again.
Yep.
And again, because you're giving them a great experience.
Yep.
There's a reason why we all jump on Amazon. It's not the greatest user experience on the planet, but everybody knows it.
Right.
If they would make it all pretty and redesign that whole thing, they'd lose so much money. It'd be crazy. But we know exactly what to do. We know to click on the orange button. We know we know exactly what this process is going to be. And we know that it's going to show up in 2 hours when we get it here.
Yep. I hear you. I hear you. So
the better we can make our experience on that store, the better it's going to be. And, we have another use case where we did a user test where we have a company that's, they sell a lot of baby items and furniture and kind of expensive products. They can't compete with Amazon. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to be able to compete on price. So we got to get them in other ways. So we basically paid a bunch of moms $100 each to come in and go through the site, and we recorded their facial expressions and telling us why they were doing certain things and where they didn't understand certain things and where they were getting hung up in the process. And that feedback to them was like leaps and bounds ahead. Now we have a whole laundry list of new test ideas that we can go and implement and test from there because we got all of that necessary feedback. But you don't need to go out and hire people like that. You can use solutions like usertesting.com. And there's other rate the UI or something like that is another solution. Just type in a user testing software or something like that, and you'll find it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, cool. So, is there maybe a case study example that you can speak to that has like very specific improvements that, you helped them make after, of course, you got in there, you consulted with them, you identified like, where their strengths and weaknesses were, on their e-commerce site. Is there a case study that you can maybe share with the audience here that you could speak to that we can just unpack for a bit here? So this way, the audience can really learn like through this case study, like what improvements are possible and what specifically that they could possibly improve on their e-commerce site.
Yeah. So one is we had a company that was driven by a lot of coupon codes.
Okay.
They sell, they're $300. They were running Facebook ads, running a coupon code.
Yep.
And what we did is we just simply put the box for the coupon code next to the call to action on the product detail page. Big red box, looked like a coupon. It said, save 10% today with code save 10. Or whatever it was. And then we had a copy to clipboard item right there. So they could literally just click and it copied. And what actually did when they clicked to copy, it is an auto applied. So they didn't even need to paste it in there. So we removed a step completely. They didn't even need to paste the coupon code. Mm-hmm. We just auto applied it. They clicked on add to cart and it was like, boom, your savings is applied. Thanks very much. Here's your 10% off.
Nice.
What was funny about that test though, is the average order value didn't go down. They spent the same amount of money on average, I think within like 50 cents or $1. We're talking their average ticket was over $200, I think. Pretty high ticket item. So $1 didn't really make that huge of a difference. But it didn't adjust too much, even with applying that 10% coupon the way it did, but it increased conversions over 35%.
Nice. Okay.
So that's one specific use case. Another one.
Real quick, just to pause for a sec. So with that one, average order value wasn't impacted. Was it because of their upsells?
No.
Why wasn't it?
I think it was because, they had upsells in place, but I think more people were actually taking that because of the 10% savings.
Okay.
And the experience of that wasn't much different, but it was a little easier for them to actually take that specific action. They always had the coupon code on their site. So I think that was an impact. It wasn't like we were just introducing a 10% coupon. They always had that, but so that's probably where the fluctuation didn't happen so much on the average order value. Mm-hmm. But just making it easier for them to apply that coupon made a big, big difference.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway with that is to make, your purchase process and also to take advantage of the offer to make it as frictionless as possible. Mm-hmm. I think that's the key. And I think that's, in my opinion, like a very fundamental key that you want to really apply towards your e-commerce store, period, is go through your e-commerce store, both from a desktop and mobile perspective and really think, about how can I make the process here for people that visit the site, go through the purchase process. How can I make it as frictionless as possible? Because every time you really focus on that and you make changes with that in mind, typically, you see conversion rates increase, right?
Yeah. And what's funny is what you or I think at the end of the day doesn't matter.
Right.
Your visitors is all we care about. So go through and kind of take your blinders off for a minute that you're the owner of the store. I don't care what it looks like. Where could my visitors be hung up in that process? I can look at a store in 5 minutes, know 15 places we need to focus testing. And then once you see that friction point, come up with 10, 20 ideas or every way you can possibly think of why that's happening or why that's a friction point or how can I answer that question why in creating test ideas. That friction process is really all we're trying to do. We have another example of that, a friction process on a women's clothing store on e-com.
Nice.
And on mobile particularly, they had where you had to tap and the menu would drop down. Then you'd select your size, tap, menu would drop down, and then you'd select your color. We just expanded those elements, increased their mobile conversions 36%. We removed that extra tap in every process. So they just go, oh, color, great. Okay, yeah, great size, perfect, done. Next, add to cart. It increased it 36%.
That's awesome.
Another pretty simple one that's actually applies great to Shopify is search, particularly mobile search. Particularly if you have quite a few products in your store, but we found on a couple different of our clients that conversion rate for those that searched was about 3 times the normal conversion rate. So if they actually engaged with that search box and searched for a product, their conversion rate was through the roof. I'm guessing that's what Amazon is too.
Totally. I'm sure.
Because everybody searches.
I know.
I immediately, when I load Amazon, I click on the button on search bar. So what we did is we just expanded the hourglass, the little magnifying glass thing, to just a search box.
Nice.
It added, I don't even know what the case study, the actual numbers were, but I know it was like 23%, it was 65% increase in search engagement, and it was 23% increase in views to cart. I think conversion rate only went up about 13%, but it made them an extra something like $80,000 or something like that.
Okay. And what type of time frame are we talking about there?
Well, 80,000, that's annualized. So over the course of the experiment, I think it ran for 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
So, whatever that is, 22.
So, just by adding a search bar, that's awesome, and it tailors to the user experience, because it's like, from a in-store perspective, it's like someone, giving you the opportunity to, like, coming up to you and saying, hey, what can I help you find? Basically, and that's the value of having like a search bar, on an e-commerce site.
Search bar and chat is another thing that just people don't leverage enough, I don't think.
Yeah. And right now too with chat, it should be done with Facebook Messenger in mind too, because there's so many opportunities with the chat bot, which we won't even get into, but you're right. They should definitely have a chat.
Yeah. Or back it up with a Facebook bot. So if they're going to bail, then you can message them and you can do all of the things that you can do with bots. But in the instance, just be genuine. Stop trying to sell them on something and try to help them find what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
It's easy. Then the sale comes.
Right.
I see that all the time. We even have an AI bot on our site. That's just an AI chat box. It's like ask them some questions and gets them to filter and say, hey, what can we help you find? What questions do you have to answer? That we can answer for you. And just something as simple as that could be very effective. But it's just leading those visitors where you want them to go, removing as much friction as possible. I did a interview earlier today, a webinar on a site called Guess the Test. I submitted a study to them, and it was the same thing. They were asking, we actually it was called Shop the Look. So we took a page out of Amazon and it was frequently bought together, but it was a men's clothing retailer and they were buying a shirt. So we just offered the complete outfit, the pants and the shirt from the image.
Yep.
For one click. And they're like, well, doesn't it go against removing friction because you're adding some other element? Well, I was like, it's very linear in the flow. It's not like I'm distracting them. I'm still taking them down the same path. Just one path is more money to me as the business owner.
Right.
So there's all sorts of ways you can do that for average order value increases and flow. And sometimes even, I know we're talking a lot about removing friction, but sometimes, and I want you to keep in mind that it is linear. Just try to keep it very linear in that path. Help them come in, narrow down their filter, their searches, then get them shopping, get them finding what they're looking for, get them through the process. But you can interrupt that path to give them special complimentary offers like upsells, even pre-checkout that have been very effective for us recently. It's just give them a specific offer, but you have to position it as a special offer. It's okay to interrupt that path, just not distract them from the path that they're going down.
Right. Yeah. Especially once they make that commitment and they're, going down that path, you want to make it as seamless as possible once they say, okay, I want that.
Yeah. Another problem that I see all the time is you click the add to cart button and it throws the thing up into the cart and then there's no next step.
I know.
Then you got to click on the cart and then it drops down a drawer and a pop-up. Then I got to click on continue shopping or checkout. I'm like, and then it's like, oh, sign up as a guest. It's like, no, hold on a second here. Like, I don't want to do all of that. I just want to, click.
That's a simple improvement that, e-commerce store owners can make,
Yep.
Someone does click on add to cart, take them directly to the checkout.
Yep. Yep. Or just take them to the cart so they could see review. Then you can position more products for sale. But I see this all the time too. Oh, contrast in button colors. So many people, we did this. I think it was ridiculous. It was like a 24% improvement for a brand new client for ours. First test out of the gate, it was like a 24% improvement. It was crazy. But they had a very giant continue shopping button right next to the checkout button. Mm-hmm. And they were the same color. So all we did was we just removed that button, continue shopping. They were already further down in the process. We just removed that and it increased it dramatically.
That's awesome.
But I always say that you keep your main call to action buttons in contrast. So going back to user experience and user interface, like visual hierarchy and contrast ratios and things, keep it all your main calls to action button the same color and then downplay everything else. Yep. So your continue shopping button, keep it a continue shopping link. Or if you have a PayPal button, keep it away, not the same size as your main call to action, and make sure it's not the same color. Because you're going to obviously more fees and more things. And people always have Amazon and GPay and, PayPal and all of these options. Keep that as a secondary option and keep your main call to action focused. So the button they click on when they first land on the site should be the same color as the button they click on at the checkout page.
Yep. No, that's great. I mean, it's just like Amazon. I mean, Amazon has that orange that they use with all their call to action buttons. And when you're going down, the checkout process, it's the same color that you're used to. So it's very similar to that. Well, we're getting to the end here, and I want to be respectful of your time. So we've got a bonus round. This is going to be very quick, rapid fire. Let me just tell you about this bonus round. So what we're looking for here is we're looking for essentially kind of one-word responses from you, one-word answers to these 4 questions. Okay? You ready?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. All right. So what caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Testing.
What got you through your toughest moments as a business owner?
Meditation.
How would you describe yourself?
Driven.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you for being on. This has been great. How can someone find you after this interview?
You can always go to conversionfanatics.com. There's a bunch of information, my book, all sorts of stuff on there. Great case studies and articles. You can also find me directly by going to Clixo, CLYXO.com/Justin Christianson. And you can find all my direct contact information and links to videos and all sorts of cool stuff.
Awesome. Okay. All right, guys, go follow Justin right now. He's also got a great book that I highly recommend. I've read it myself. It's a fantastic book. Conversion Fanatics. Check it out. You can find it on Amazon. You can probably find it all over the web if you just search for it. But definitely follow Justin. Justin's one of the best out there when it comes to conversion rate optimization. His company really does incredible work, as we just touched upon in today's interview. Thanks again, Justin, for being on here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to E-Commerce All-Stars. By learning from the best, you're saving yourself time, money, and pain from trying to figure it out all by yourself. You can save yourself time, wasted advertising dollars, and stress from your Facebook ads right now by claiming a copy of Facebook Advertising Trends and Strategies for E-Commerce, the 2019 edition. You can generate more results than you've ever experienced with Facebook ads. You can adapt to the current trends happening right now that are affecting business owners from getting the best possible results on Facebook. And you can discover how to scale your Facebook advertising results. All of this is possible for your business by learning from 13 of the best Facebook advertising experts in the world by claiming your copy of Facebook Advertising Trends and Strategies for E-Commerce, the 2019 edition. Thanks for listening to E-Commerce All-Stars.
E-Commerce All-Stars.